Hello everyone, I'm back for another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video in which I take on Stage 10 of Battle-Hardened Formidable Foes, Movie Edition Part 5, and the missions to beat the stage and beat it with 6 full power category characters. This is probably one of, if not the hardest mission I've probably taken on in this game for freaking real. Just because of how much this run is dependent on, can you answer Cell Max's AoE attack at the end? And if you can't answer it efficiently, how much of your sanity are you willing to risk for him to do the correct super attack? And that's just how it is. And that is really just how this fight operates as a whole. However, Battle-Hardened Formidable Foes does allow you to bring 4 items. My opinion on items is this. I don't think it should be a go-to, right? Especially since bosses nowadays don't allow you to bring more than 1 item, and they even have a recent event where you can only bring 0 items. So, that is something to consider. For sure, it's something to consider. However, if you can bring items, and I mean if the boss starts ripping away at your sanity, I feel like you're valid for using items, eventually, right? If you really are down bad struggling with a boss fight, I think it's eventually fair to use items, for sure. Not frame 1, because I definitely do feel like you should experience, defeat. For sure. But I feel like it gets to a point. Where it's just too much, right? I feel like it gets to a point where it's just too much to handle and is something that you would just not want to preferably deal with. Also, there is a reason why I'm not bringing physical Gohan's team, is because I just don't think it works very effectively for what's going on here. You still need to deal with the Cell Max super attack, just in a less efficient way, because this team absolutely blitzes. And honestly, if I had to give a quick rundown of how good I think the characters are on a tier list style format, here's how I would do it. And this is all the 10th anniversary mainline characters. I'm not ranking the side banner characters, although I'm be real, I did not care about Beerus. I never really used him. Hercule is good. He's just a good dodge character. That's what I'm going to say about him. He's a good dodge support. We like him. He's actually pretty nice. But what I will say about the anniversary characters from the 10th year is as follows. The bottom has to be STR Vegeta. It has to be. It just is what it is. It is what it is. I would not have liked to just put him square away in that slot, but it's just how it is. It literally is just how it is. He is the worst LR from the 10th anniversary, and it's not even really close. Just because, yes, we do have... That was what I was worried about. And that is why this boss fight is so annoying as well. Because not only do you have to deal with that, you have to deal with the fact that you can be killed along the way just from stray super attacks, for freaking sure. So all of that makes this into probably one of the more challenging fights, just because of the AoE at the end. If the AoE didn't exist at the end, I would be done with this like a long time ago. If the AoE didn't exist at the end, this would actually be fairly simple. Fairly simple. It would be fairly simple if the AoE didn't exist at the end. But let me go ahead and finish up the ranking. So, Vegeta is in last place. He is just super, 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 super underwhelming. He just doesn't have the amount of damage you would want out of a DPS. He is not transforming, which means he doesn't link well with the existing Evolution Blue Vegeta. And that guy is just better than him at doing his role, which is quite sad to say, but it's just the truth. It really hurts as an Evolution Blue Vegeta fan to say that, but it is what it is. He's just the disappointing release out of these characters. Next up is honestly, I'd say the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. He's not bad at all, but he is just a slot 1 tank that is not super, super, super necessary. However, he could definitely slot in because he is on full power, right? So we can slot in on a run like this. We could run a different build for it, but even still, he is not crazy by any means on terms of damage. And in terms of taking, he does do pretty good. Locking does affect him quite a bit. I don't have him, so that definitely does color my opinion, but I think that is just how it is. He's just okay. He's just okay as a card, for sure. He is just really someone who is just okay. He is just an okay character to deal with. For sure. Next up has to be Physical Gohan at spot number 5. Oh, dump! Again. How am I supposed to... Oh, he took it better, though. With and without support, you can definitely tell the difference. He took it better. Hold on. Don't get so mad just yet. He took it a little better. No way. He did. He took it. He took the super attack. Yo? Okay, you gotta quit from me, buddy. Bang? You gotta quit from me, buddy. You have like a 60% chance to quit. Come on. Just do your coin flips correctly, and we'd all be better off if you did that for me. Thank you. But with that being said, Physical Gohan is just a DPS character, and that's just about it. He doesn't really do anything else. He doesn't do any crazy team support ability. He does have good damage at the end of a fight, which is definitely valuable for sure. Oh my gosh. Anyways. Yeah. So, that is why this fight is annoying for real. So, you can start to see why I want to use items here. Also... No, that's actually good. No, it's actually good. We actually keep that. We actually do keep this. We actually do take it. But that is why, that's a situation I'm dealing with. And I cannot just use this to really support and just, yeah, no. Physical Gohan just is... He just is, really. He just is a character on my account. He does okay damage once you really get him fully maximized at the end of a fight. But other than that, he's just okay, y'all. He's not that crazy. He's really not. He really just does okay damage, I guess. But if that is a crit, we die. By the way. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yippee-ki-yay! Again, showcasing these runs here because of the fact that this is just what it is. This is what I've been having to deal with for the past 2 hours? 2-3 hours is just this. And, as much as people like grinding on Dokkan for a while, I definitely do like the satisfaction of being done with this content. It gets to a certain point, but let me go ahead and finish off this tier list for real. Let me go ahead and finish up the tier list for real before I start yik-yakking too long. So, finally, we have Go Frieza. Go Frieza is a character who is the same as Gohan, although he is a higher DPS merchant on that regard. But, you know, he has utility. He actually has turn 4 utility. He can go in slot 1 and just absolutely brutalize there in slot 1. He can be a good tank. He can be a very nasty tank for sure in slot 1. So that is very good. That's why he is good. That's why he can do well, is because he is a good slot 1 tank. And can just really support yourself there. That's why I'd say he's still just amazing for that reason, is because he goes ahead and does just so well in that scenario, in that situation for real. So he's just able to just do that. But not only that, he has the healing active skill. We cannot underestimate the just straight up full heal on that active. It is a pretty freaking good active skill. And that's just why Go Frieza is going to be number 4. And number 3, by the way, is Super Saiyan 3 Goku. I don't have to explain that one very hard. He just is who he is. He is God dependent, though, especially in these new fights. And then, after you transform, he does get pretty good. And of course, the longer he is in the fight, he has stacking, so he's good for long content, especially. That is that. And of course, number 2 is Gogeta. Super Gogeta. The active skill is just absolutely ruthless. The transformation is ruthless. All that type of stuff just make him an absolute beast to deal with. But not only that, the support he's able to provide to the rotation is insane. He's just number 2 for that reason. Number 1 is obviously Super Vegito. But I'd say, obviously, he is over Gogeta just because I actually argued those two about the same in this meta. However, you can't do that these days. You can't. I can't argue them. I can't argue Super Gogeta over. I can't. And there's one very major reason why. It's a very, very simple reason why I can't argue him over. He cannot tank. Not as good as the boy can. Just because when you sit in that slot and you just go ahead and you just tank for real, it feels super, super, super good. It feels super, super, super good. But sometimes you really do have to get off of your ego for real and just say, okay, no, I'm just going to go ahead and use items. Sometimes you have to do that. I haven't had to do this for a lot of these fights, but the full power team, it's just okay, y'all. It is just okay, especially against these fights where even the top contenders of the line teams are just getting brutally murdered. Yeah, this team is just alright. It is alright. It is okay. It has these powerful characters, but definitely you can tell the difference between having the top tiers and not having the top tiers. It is a world of difference. A world of difference not having these top tiers, because the top tiers to the bottom, it's a difference. Mind you, it is a difference. Fusions, for example, would be able to brutally destroy this boss fight, no question, because of STR, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku, and Vegeta. And that is why the teams are most of the difficulty in this game. I'm not joking. The fact that they restrict your teams, that generates most of the difficulty in Dokkan. It's literally just because you have to use a specific team. That is why these bosses are even difficult to begin with in the first place. I'm not joking. I am literally not joking. That is literally just is what it is. That's just how this works. The boss's difficulty is, let me repeat to you that again. The boss's difficulty is generated because these are just these specific missions you have to complete to deal with these boss fights for real. So I've gave a lot of insight on this, but if I see a win button, I'm just going to take it. This boss fight has just dealt with me for so long. I can do it with no items. This is not a boss fight I can't do with no items, but I'm not going to do it no item and mission. I can do mission. If you really want to see me take this no item, I will. And it will be an absolute breeze. That will take 15 minutes with a full powered up team. I'm being so serious. Just having all these slot 1 characters to be able to deal with all these kind of stuff. It'll just take like that. It'll just take like that. Using a strong team to be able to specifically harbor against this boss, it'll be pretty easy. It'll be fairly simple to deal with a boss fight like this for real. But with that being said, I just don't have the patience for it, just because, you do have to remember at the end of the day, right? You do have to remember what this is, right? As I see a discourse online that says, and I definitely have subscribed to this, but I'm obviously going to change my opinion because of this fight, right? It's quite simple. This is a game. You do have to remember it is just a game. And why is this important? Why is this so critical information? Because the very simple qualm is this, all right? Playing a game, right, should be fun. There we go. And you go, whoa. Let everyone play how they want to. Yes, that's exactly what I'm arguing. If you want to, let's just say, not be smart and really just do all of your summons as singles and then summon on every banner, you can do that. I'm not going to stop. If that's really truly how you want to spend your time and that's really truly how you want to play, okay then. Okay, sure, go at it. I'm not going to stop you. Because do remember, although there are definitely smart choices, if you really just want to go in for the one thing and just have fun, play this casually, it's really up to you. Y'all, it's really up to y'all. It really is. It really freaking is, chat. You know what? Now imagine because the domain doesn't provide defense support, right? Power absorption calculate enemies and allies increasing damage. Yeah, I don't think he gets defense support here though, which is what I'm really looking for. Okay, do I do this? Right, take double digits from this. Okay. Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course I can. For sure. It is what it is. Nice. You love to see that. You actually do love to see it. Nah, there's no way. I can't do it with this setup though. Nah, because it's gonna have to be this right here. And then this right here though. Because that's gonna do too much damage, right? And this is what I'm talking about. Let me finish the statement I was saying earlier though. I think you should have the freedom to do. I feel like, and this is just there's a reason why everyone says don't use items, because I feel like I would want to experience this game how I feel like, the hardest difficulty first. Let's try that. See if that goes well. But they're just situations, right? And there's situations where I'm going to go ahead and usher. I'm just not even going to deal with it. Nope, I'm ushering. Nope, I'm going to usher. No. I have spent hours. I probably spent like what total of maybe 5 hours on this fight. It's been two. It's just no. Oh, you could have gotten the run. I don't really care though. I'm not trying to sit here and lose my sanity over a fight in a video game. And this is not to be mean. This is not to be like, oh, everything doesn't matter, because sometimes you do have to use that to your advantage. You have to use your mindset to your advantage and realize, yo, sometimes you have to remember it is just a game. It is just a game, right? So if it is just a game, then you can just be like, you can play however you really want to. I feel like the no item stigma is kind of bad. I can understand why, especially in a meta like this. I won't blame you, especially in this meta though. Especially in this meta, there's been fights recently that have been hard with items. Yeah, there's been fights recently that have been super bad with items. Yeah, some of these global Dokkan stages have been super tough to fight with items on, for sure. Now, I don't have time to just go ahead and see what happens. Oh, can I tank? Oh, can Omega tank? Let's find out. Let's find out if he can tank the AoEs, chat. Like, no, I'm not really gonna do that for sure. When you saw opponent super attacks, normal. Nope. That should be it, but I'm double weasing. Yeah, I'm really not playing anymore. I'm really not playing anymore. I really just think this. I went through the rest of the fight without items, but this cell max is something right there. For this. This is something I'm not gonna try to deal with or just be like, because he would have taken a lot of damage though, right? I feel like he might have just died right there. I feel like that could have been Omega Shenron just dying right there though. For sure. So that's what he does. He just does that as super attacks, which is why this boss fight ends up being super hard, even though you can kill it within 2 turns. This is why this boss fight is super hard. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up though shortly. Not necessarily how I wanted to beat this fight, but sometimes it is what it is at that point. Especially when it has 4 item slots though, because in fights without 4 item slots like this, when fights with 1 item slot, it's still very tough. You know, I would like to go ahead and not do items in those fights like that, for sure. Especially the fight against like Red Zone Goku, you might as well just not use items for sure, because if you can't do it with, you gotta find a consistent run, and you can definitely find consistent. This is like the only stage where I'm like, I don't think they play tested this. I really don't think so. This is a stage where this is a fan theory, so this is not confirmed. I'm not trying to say they actually didn't play test this, but it feels like it. It definitely does feel like it. I don't know how you would. This is with all these new characters. How are you supposed to beat it at the time, right? How are you even supposed to beat it at the time? Beating at the time would be impossible, right? You would just, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't care though. We're gonna go ahead and use this item because I'm just trying to stay safe though. I'm just trying to stay here, chat. You know what? Let's use a Ghost Usher for real. And let's just use this. No, I can't use it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But for real though, I'm gonna get on out of here. This is not how I wanted to do this though, and I've tried, but this is one of those fights where it's like, I'm not gonna say this is like the hardest fight in the game or something, because it's not. It's not. Just because of the fact that you can't deal with this with the team though. You can do it no item. You can post I can post a really good no item if I was able to go full throttle. I just can. Right? I can. Just gonna go ahead and sweep these missions. Not how I wanted to end this fight, but I just go ahead and do it. No, I'm just not gonna have an ego like that. It got me really mad. This boss fight had me just saying explicatives and everything. It just got me really angry. So I don't want to show you all that. I just don't want to be negative. I don't really want to be overly negative. I'm just saying the facts of the matter. If you can do a fight without items, I'd say at least try to. You know, that's why we do blind runs. That's why I like doing, blind runs is really just, okay, you just have the haha death funny, but I sometimes even just go in and see the fight beforehand just because that's how I like to do it, how I like to see how hard it's hitting. Because most of the days, these bosses, even if you have the information, okay, you're still donezo though. Oh, that being said, hopefully I'll still enjoy this video. I'm going back and doing these fights, and that is something I use support items. Did I suddenly get a heart attack? No. No, it does not. I definitely won't be really trying to... I'm surprised Festival lets you use 2 items. But even with 2, this... Yeah, this is a whole nother beast. I am gonna tackle... I don't know. I'm not putting a date on that. No. These recent fights have also been pretty tough. This is a fight where I wouldn't be surprised if you wanted to use items for sure. That's definitely something you could do is for items for sure. Same with these new fights for sure. Yeah, oh, frick, yeah, you could. But I'm not going to really focus on that right now. I'm just going to say, though these fights are possible with items. These fights are possible without items. Excuse me. They're possible without items. Where'd it go? It's just hard to see since I have all the missions complete over here. Oh, this is hard, though. I ain't gonna deny it. I don't know how I did the no item. That was me being conceited, Okay. This is another example, right? And I just want to say this before I get on out of here. Part 1. Where is he? No, it's super bosses. This. I'm honestly still not sure how I did this run. This is a run where I should have had to use items. I just didn't. Yeah, Rose would kill this now. Now this is not that hard. Now this is not that hard if you have... the new Rose makes this a joke, right? The new Rose team makes this a joke. It does. But back then, whoa. That no item... That is a no item. I don't know how you're able to do that. Whoa, I really don't. I really do not. That's just, I don't know. I really don't. But, with that being said, I'll wrap up here. Hopefully y'all did enjoy. Anyways, I'm sorry, chat. I had to use items. How am I supposed to deal with that so max? It's okay. No, you can deal with it. No, you can't. You just can't. You just can't. I found through testing that most of the people who won this fight say, oh yeah, I got the melee super attack, both times or one time. That's how people win this fight. I'm just being so serious. Is you see the correct super. And by the way, the melee super has a much lower chance to spawn than the attack all. Because if it was even 50-50, I'd be through this fight. It's not 50-50. It's definitely not 50-50. I can tell you it's not 50-50. For sure. Because you can grind it in, boom, boom, bam, pow, and then you're done, right? It is what it is. With that being said, though, another good showcase for a Mega Slim Jim. And it's not something I want to risk my sanity for. I did the no item just to clear, just have the mission cleared. Chat. That is what it is. If you really want to see me lose a little bit more of my sanity and have me do the no item, I can. Not with full power, though. That's not. No. Nuh-uh. That's not happening. But if you want me to see you do it with a different team, that's happening. But I gotta get on out of here, though. I gotta head off to work. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. And until next time, bye!